right, we're live.
All right, thank you. All right, we will call to order the regular meeting of the Seminole Airport Authority. But before we do a roll call, I want to give a couple of minutes to our city manager, Steve Saxon, for some instructions.
Yes, thank you all, and I appreciate everyone being here. We are going to do this through Zoom, of course, and we just wanted to let everyone know there are storms in the area. We don't expect any technical difficulty, but if we should happen to be disconnected by law or by AG opinion, we have 30 minutes to attempt to reconnect. If we're not able to establish a reconnection, we will reconvene the meeting on Thursday at 7 p.m. And of course, we're assuming we have a quorum to do so. Right now, we have no real technical issues. I think we've got some support staff that is out today. They had in their household test positive. We've had a heroic support from other staff person stepping in to help with some of the IT issues that may have occurred. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. With that, roll call, please, Jay.
Bill Watland,
Here.
Chris Hansen,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Elections and appointments. Consideration and possible action to accept the resignation of Ward 2 City Council member Stephanie Lambert, an authority member for the Airport, Gas, and Utilities authorities who no longer resides within Ward 2.
Move to accept.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Unfortunately, yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll move on to appearances or petitions from the audience for the Airport Authority.
Oh.
The moderator's making sure that we don't have any.
No, sir, we don't.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to current business. Consideration and possible action to approve a 2-year aviation support and maintenance services agreement with DBT for maintenance of the all-weather observing system, AWOS, in the amount of $11,700 or $5,850 annually.
Mayor, this is something we have and nothing has changed from the current agreement.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
John Craig,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 2, consideration and possible action to approve the surface lease agreement with Wes Elliott and James Jennings on hangar number 10, which has been amended to allow subleases.
Explanation, please.
Certainly. Mayor and council, this agreement is new to us in that prior to this was a privately held hangar, and we had in our conditions of the that it would not be sublet. Recently, this property has changed hands, and we now have an investment group that owns the hangar, and they have requested, live in Seminole, and they have requested we allow them to sublet their airplane to take those places. The staff has no problem with doing this.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 3, consideration and possible action to approve authorizing the mayor to approve 2 grant offers totaling $1,330,000 that must be received by the Federal Aviation Administration no later than August 31st, 2020. Steve, please expand on that if you would.
Well, we have numerous projects at the airport. This is, the money is flowing through OAC and FAA, and we expect to receive about in 3. Currently, they're not requesting the matching funds that they need, and we wanted to get as much of that as we could to improve the airport. We're recommending approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right, we will be moving on to the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call, please, Jay.
Larry Church. You there, Larry?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had to hit my mute button.
Okay. Tim Poplin,
Here.
Corey
Yes.
Crab,
Here.
Bill Watland,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move its approval.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Larry Church,
Yes, aye, whatever.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items being removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Gas Authority?
No, sir, there is not.
Thank you. With none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, like sign. Right, with that, we will move on to the Seminole Utilities Authority. Roll call, please, Jay.
John Kramer,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Bill Wantland,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Larry Church.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Did you get
Second.
those, Jay?
Say that again, the second.
Second.
Yes, I'll second it.
Thank you. John
Roll
Kramer,
call, please.
sorry. John Kramer,
That's okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Utilities Authority?
No, sir, there is not.
Thank you. We'll move on to approvals and acceptances. Resolutions. 1, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number SUA 2020-01, a resolution authorizing the transfer of budget funds totaling $19,448.31 between departments in the Water and Sewer Fund and appropriating additional budget funds totaling $144,000 to the Water Sewer Capital Improvements Projects Fund for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Steve, you need to explain that for maybe the people that's watching?
Sure. So at the end of the year, when we're closing out our books, there are a lot of housekeeping things that we need to do to transfer our money and really get it into our reserve funds. So this is just a housekeeping thing to clean up and get our books closed out for the auditor.
Thank you. Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes, sir.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under current business, consideration and possible action to approve DEQ permit number WL000067200269, elevated water storage tank and water line extension for a proposed new water tank.
Yes. So, you guys given us permission to go out and formed on a new water tower. We certainly want projects on the shelf that are shovel ready, that we can take advantage of the exact money that might be able to flow to us. And this is the last step, is getting the certification permit from Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality.
And Steve, we lost you right at the last where you said about getting a permit.
Yes, we are, this is the last step, is getting the permit from the Department of Environmental Quality. So we're ready for your approval.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Who's that?
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, like sign. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the regularly scheduled Seminole City Council meeting. Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Bill Wantland,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If you'd please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bill, would you please lead our prayer?
Shabajazi Mado Moment Potalofa Seminole Moment Poestia Morgan. Pumikosapka Omis Moment Poestia Morgan Omada Chefekni. Lord, we thank you for the city of Seminole and for all our people. We pray that all our people may be healthy. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bill. All right, with that, we will move on to remarks and inquiries of the mayor and council members. I have a couple of, I don't know what that was, but
China.
I would like to thank the Mask Ordinance Committee for the work that they did. I know they spent a lot of time working on it. I want to thank Larry Church, Bill Wantland, Corey Crabtree, Amanda Cooner, Dana Miller, Randy Wassam, and Steve Saxon. Thank you very much for the time that you volunteered to work on that committee. I would also like to thank all of those that have contacted me over the past couple of weeks. Obviously, there are people from both sides, and they have shared many resources that they've done research on for me to look at. I'm assuming the council members are probably the same way, but this is part of your right to be able to share your thoughts with your council members. And I do appreciate it. And I think that's what makes us the greatest country we have in the world, to be able to do that. So with that, I'm going to take just a few minutes to kind of share a little bit of my thoughts. Again, these are my thoughts. These are not thoughts I'm throwing upon the council. This is my thought and why I'm doing it. Oh, before I do that, I want to cover the mask. I have a lot of paperwork here, so I want to cover the voting that took place concerning the mask. And we had a total of 610 people vote. Between the ages of 25 and 54, we had 404 people that voted, which made up 66.2% of the total votes. And from that, the numbers were yes, 265, no, 345, with the no's having 56.56%. Thank you to everyone that voted. Again, this is just another means for you to be able to share your opinion. And we do thank you for taking your time to be able to do that. Okay, now I'm going to move on to my remarks. I'm not going to say anything that probably most people don't know, but I felt like I needed to cover it. COVID-19 is very controversial. Some base their belief on political sides. But no matter what you believe, we all have to make up our own mind on what we're going to do. For me, what I do know is this. When local citizens become sick and some die, it isn't political at that point. I've been taught to take care of others, and I choose to wear a mask for others. Each side can provide data to support their views. There's still a lot of unknowns about the virus. If you recover, are there long-term health issues? Do masks help reduce the risk to others? I'm not an expert in those fields, and that's why I try to listen to those that I believe are experts to make up my own opinion. What I do know is that COVID is real, and friends of mine have died from it. Again, that is why I choose to wear a mask. With that, we'll move on to Ward 1, Bill Wantland.
Thank you very much. The first thing I would like to say is congratulations to the Seminole Nation. Last Friday was Independence Day for the Seminole Nation, celebrating 164 years of independence. I want to say something about the whole COVID issue because it touches me very personally. Many of you know that Jan and I had 8 children. Our youngest son, who lives in Wisconsin, and his wife and their daughter were infected by the disease, fortunately recovered. My eldest son, who is a lawyer in Claremore, and his wife came down with the disease last Friday. They're fortunately not hospitalized, but both are very sick at home. Right here in Seminole County, I had a cousin and his wife who both came down with the disease. Walter was very sick but recovered. Unfortunately, Joanne died. So this is something that touches me very personally and very closely. And for that reason, I have to say that if wearing a mask will save one life, I will wear a mask.
Thank you, Bill. Ward 1, Larry Church.
Got a new machine, so I'm sorry it took a second to get my mic on. As I tend to ramble, I tried to write some things down so that I won't go on and on. But first, a few words about what pandemics in general are like. Some pandemics are like Ebola and are very contagious, have a fast onset, and are very deadly. The person is exposed, gets it, and dies in a few days without much time to pass it on to others. Woe be their families and close neighbors, because that's who they come into contact with, and they get it and die in a brief period. And although it kills most everyone who gets it, those kinds of pandemics are more easily contained because the victim doesn't have much time to travel and pass it on to a large number of people. At the other end of the spectrum are viruses like COVID-19, which has a long incubation period during which the victim may not develop symptoms for several days, if they develop symptoms at all, but they're contagious during all that time. It has a slow contagion rate. So most people who are exposed do not get it, and a smaller percentage even die. Although they may suffer long-lasting consequences, they may not die from it. And these are the most difficult to contain because it requires cooperation of the entire community to slow it or stop it until a vaccine can be developed to speed up the achievement of herd immunity. Just as there are a broad range of pandemics, there's also a wide range of truths about a matter. On one end of the spectrum is objective truth supported by the preponderance of evidence that can be validated by repeated observation from a variety of sources and validated by experiment. At the other end is personal truth based on conjecture and modified by our individual biases or viewpoint. Those people who have contacted me to voice an opinion about mask and social distancing mandate or an ordinance to mandate it in our city, those who are in favor of it say basically that that's the only tool that we have to slow the pandemic down until we can develop a vaccine and so that we don't overextend our medical resources. Those who are opposed to it fall into a few categories, say that they don't believe it's real, or that that it can be stopped without a mask, or they don't need to wear a mask to protect themselves, or they say that the government shouldn't be in the business of telling individuals what they can or cannot do. So with that, now I close, and I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Larry. Ward 2, John Kramer.
Yeah, I do appreciate all the calls that I got from everyone on this. It made it a little bit easier. This is a tough one. I just want to make sure I don't have a problem with anybody wearing a mask. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ward 3, Corey Crabtree.
Yeah, just real quick, just to reiterate, thanks everybody for the comments. There was a lot on Facebook. The survey or the poll that actually got initiated was part of my doing. I just wanted to see kind of where our ward was in terms of where people's thoughts are. And actually, I guess you can probably tell that our ward was pretty split. So it does make for a hard decision. So, but again, thanks for all the input. Thanks for all the calls, messages. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ward 3, Tim Poplin.
Yes, thank you. Corey pretty much said it all. You know, regardless of the outcome in the vote tonight, everybody should wear a mask when they're around other people. I talked to a lot of people other than the people that contacted me, and there was a little girl, she was 13 years old. And, you know, I was trying to decide what to do. And with the vote coming in, it made it pretty easy with me because we're here to represent the people. But the little girl said, you know, she said, Mister, she was sitting on the porch and I walked by and I asked her about it. And she said, you know, Mister, I don't like to wear a mask. She said, it itches, it's hard to breathe. And sometimes it makes my throat sore. But she said, you know, if it's going to save my grandma or somebody else's grandma or grandpa, she said, I can put up with it for a week or two or a month or two. But anyway, regardless how this thing comes out, be respectful of people, and wearing a mask there's no negative, maybe a positive from it, but that's kind of my 2 cents worth. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Tim. Ward 4, Chris Hansen.
Yeah, finally got it. I'd like to thank everybody for all the calls too. It was definitely helpful to hear from both sides of the issue.
Thank you, Chris. Ward 4, Trace Connor.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate the same thing. Thanks for the calls and the input. Some of the, I guess, polls that we had pretty hard to decide. You got both sides, and you got businesses that may lose business. You've got individuals that have concerns. Young kids, I've heard that some say, 11 and under, they shouldn't wear a mask. I've kind of heard from others that said, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. I do the same thing. If it's required of me, absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't. If it's required of me, I will wear a mask. But it's going to be a tough one here.
Thank you, Trace. With that, we'll move on to consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Here. Yes, I'm sorry.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from consent agenda, we'll be moving into the public hearing. I would like to say, before we open up the public hearing, is that we aren't sure how many people we will have wanting to speak tonight. So we've reduced the time to speak to 2 minutes. So please make your points. I will let you know when 2 minutes is up. And we just ask that you be courteous enough to please stop and allow others to come on when your time is over. Thank you very much. With that, we will open a public hearing regarding safety protocol and precautions surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic, including but not limited to requiring face mask protection within the city limits if citizens are in a public place. And Mr. Moderator, if you would put the first person on.
Yes, sir. Our first speaker will be a David Rayner. Mr. Rayner, go ahead.
First of all, thank you guys for allowing me to speak. I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm a new resident here to Seminole. My family and I just moved last week. Currently, or previously lived in Shawnee, and moved to Seminole. As far as the face masks are concerned, I personally do have an issue with wearing one, but I don't have an issue with other people that wear one. I believe that if they feel like it helps them and protects them, then I'm all for it. But I don't feel like that same mandate should be forced on other people. So with that, I will give up my time and just say I'm new to the community and trying to get involved as much as possible. So again, I appreciate the time.
Mr. Rayner?
Yes.
Would you mind giving your address, please?
Yes, it is 808 William Boulevard.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would remind, and I failed to do that early on, please provide your address as well when you get on to speak. All right, we're ready for the next one.
Mr. Mayor, moderator, next speaker will be Steve Matthews. Mr.
Thank you.
Matthews, go ahead and give us your address and go ahead.
It's not working.
Mr. Matthews, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Okay, I finally got it turned off or turned on. Sorry about that. Steve Matthews, 921 Cherokee Street. I'm going to save you a lot of time. I sent a written statement to you, Mayor Griffin, and my Ward 2 council persons. via email. Did that yesterday. I will just leave it at that, and I don't envy you what you're about to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, are you ready for the next speaker?
Yes, please.
Okay, our next speaker will be Luke Martin. Mr. Martin, go ahead and give us your address.
Mute.
Mr. Martin, are you with us? You're on mute. Mr. Mayor, it looks as though we may have either he put us on pause in there. If he reestablishes, we'll do what we can to get him in.
That will be fine. Thank you.
Next.
Okay, I believe he's on now. Mr. Martin, are you there?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My concerns, or I don't know if you got my address. It's 1836 Reed. My concern with the fines and also the way the guidelines read with mandating this for churches is the city trying to get in the business of policing a church for any reason, and this is just one way that can slip in. At $500 maximum fine, you look at a church like First Baptist with 300, that's a $150,000 fine for one Sunday if not everybody's wearing a mask, and that gives me a lot of concern. So personally, if somebody is concerned about health, they can wear a mask. You got the freedom to do so. If somebody is not, then they don't have to wear the mask, having that freedom. But my big concern is just policing churches. And we look at how California is now and mandating, I mean, that you can't worship in church, and this can go to a whole nother level. Do we want to get into that?
Good point. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this is Brad Carter.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out that churches are exempt from this requirement under section 1359(1)10. That was a debate that the committee was involved with quite extensively, and it was determined that places of worship or anyone participating in a religious service or ceremony, it would be exempt unless the governing body of the church enforced some sort of policy of their own. So I just wanted to make that clear so there wasn't any confusion.
Okay. So if we were to move, or if there's a motion on what we have, it will need to be amended to adjust for that, correct?
No.
No, it's already, I mean, we have no intention, nor will we have the power to impose fines at the church.
Right.
There is one thing I would like to address, if I may, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of wearing a mask is not for self-protection, it's for protection of others.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin, for calling in.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mayor, you ready for the next speaker?
Yes, sir.
Next speaker will be Paul Levy. Mr. Levy, please unmute and go ahead.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Paul.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here and be present. I find that to be quite a privilege. I think we should wear masks. I don't think if there's an issue of a choice here. We know that masks protect each individual from the other individual with this entire germ, this COVID and all other type, our professional doctors and nurses, they all wear masks to protect their patients. They take an oath of protecting their patients, their clients, the people that they're serving in their community. And I think we each in our community each owe that to each other. Now, I think we can side on the fact that wearing a mask, from what I've seen, what I've read, what I've heard, it's much safer for the community and for those that you are with if you wear a mask. It just makes common sense. And if you all don't, it's not a personal. It may be a personal choice to wear one and put it on or not, but by wearing the mask, we protect the other person. By not wearing the mask, I think it's proven that we risk a greater chance of getting infection. We elected all of you officials, mostly in this room, and it is your job to protect the community. I don't think that other governments typically get to have their members call in and give their opinion, and based off that, you make the choice based off the community's opinion. I think it's based on protecting your community, and I think the best thing to protect us would be everyone should wear a mask. And I guess if it doesn't work for you, you can consider it almost like a placebo effect. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it does, but I believe strongly that mask wearing is very important. And I think you guys should do your job and vote for mask wearing for the community. And good luck.
Mr.
Thank you
Levy,
for the opportunity.
would you give us your address, please?
909 East Wrangler Boulevard,
Thank you
Seminole,
very much.
Oklahoma. Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Sure.
We're ready for the next caller.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, next caller will be Phil Colson. Mr. Colson,
Yeah, no, I'm
please
not
unmute
talking.
your mic and
Did I do a good job?
We elected you to protect us the best way possible.
If we could ask
Good
our
job.
call-in guests to please mute your microphones.
You'll be able to hear 'em.
Not, Mr. Mayor, we're not talking about our current caller. We're talking about.
No, we're talking about others that are on that are not currently speaking,
Thank you.
because we can still hear from them.
Mr. Mayor's moderator, we're working on getting them muted. Just 1 second here.
Thank you. And I would remind everyone, as our city manager had mentioned, we're working a little shorthanded, so we do need a little additional patience tonight.
They do a good job.
Okay. All right, our next speaker should be a Phil Colson. Mr. Colson, go ahead and unmute your mic and give us your address.
Mr. Colson, are you with us? Your mic is muted. If you could unmute the mic, that will allow us to hear your statement.
This is a moderator. We're going to go ahead and move them down the list and move on to the next one. The next one will be a Robin Bieber. Mr. Bieber, go ahead and unmute and give us your address.
Robin, I live at 400 West Strother. I'm just weighing in that I don't believe that city government should mask mandate. My concerns are, especially, I think it should be based on that amount of cases and the actual severity of the possibility of people dying. I know it sounds cold, but it's not a very very contagious. We know that, but it's not a very deadly disease as far as looking at the people that are actually catching it and how many people are actually dying from it. That being said, I obviously don't want anybody to die, but I also believe that wearing a mask is basically, I think, is harming people as far as weakening their immune system. And my concern, I believe in oxygen, breathing in oxygen, not having a high carbon dioxide load constantly on that person. I think that just weakens your immune system, and I believe, I know nothing data-wise to prove this, that putting that type of stress on your body would actually make you probably more prone and susceptible to being more severe case of COVID. And obviously with people that are already immune compromised, and I think a lot of people are immune compromised based on what the food they eat, their lack of exercise, obesity, pre-existing conditions. There's a lot of people that would actually fall into that camp. And so I think wearing a mask would actually cause those people to actually weaken their immune system even more. There are some studies that I've read about oxygen deprivation in regards to COVID being powered by that situation. So that's all I have to say. I do not envy your position as leaders of the community to make that decision. So good luck with that. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in and sharing with us. We are ready for the next caller.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, next caller will be Elena Bunch. Ms. Bunch, go ahead and unmute and go ahead with your address. Okay, Mr. Mayor, this is moderator. Looks like that person's having a problem with their mic. We're going to move on to the next one and move them down the list. Your next caller will be Matilda Williams. Miss Williams, please go ahead and unmute and give us your address.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. My address is 1021 Harding Street. I think I found out it's District 3 or something like that. I just want to say, I want to thank Larry Church for his ads and the producer. You know, I appreciate it very much, thanking people for wearing masks. As you can tell from, maybe you can't see me, but from my gray hair, and number of you have gray hair, we're in the high risk category. So I always appreciate when I see people wearing masks. What I want to say is I think most Seminoleans, most Americans in general, are law abiding. I don't think the whole issue of having to issue tickets and stuff like that is really going to happen. I think the mask mandate would simply support businesses who have requirements that people wear masks, like Walmart. When their employees have to ask customers to put on a mask, it would just support them in the act of doing that. You know, I don't think we're going to have those kind of troubles where people go into a store and destroy mask displays or spit in people's faces just out of spite. But if we do have such troublemakers, then those are the people we should save the 911 calls and the tickets for. But most of the time, I think that, our cases in Seminole have quadrupled. In the beginning of July, it was like 440. Now it's like 240. It's growing, and I'm happy for everyone that has survived, but this virus seems to be like a Russian roulette situation. You don't know how you're going to react. There are people that are very healthy, and I'm a retired health care worker. There are people who are very healthy that die from it, and there are people who are in their 70s or 80s. There's a woman who was even in her 90s and she survived. So you never know. It's Russian roulette. If the most practical masks are the cloth, reusable, you can rewash them. If they even cut down transmission rates by 30%, that's 30% fewer hospitalizations, 30% fewer deaths, and it's worth it. I think,
Ms. Williams,
I don't know how
Mrs.
much.
Williams,
Yeah.
I'm sorry
wanna
you've
say-
gone over your 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
If you have a brief ending, please go ahead.
I don't remember what I was going to say, so thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling
made
in.
my points.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Mayor, this is moderator. The last one is Elena Bunch. Mrs. Bunch, if you were able to get your mic going, please go ahead.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, please give us your address if you would.
Okay. It's 2811 William Boulevard.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And I just wanted to first of all thank you, Mr. Mayor, and also thank all of the councilmen for your leadership and your concern for all of, not just Seminole, but all of Seminole County during this time. And I just wanted to share that I know that the truth is so important to all of us, because if we know the truth is what makes us free. So my question kind of is, in light of the fact that in our state, the death rate is about 1.37%, and the death rate in Seminole County is just a little bit more than that, around 2%, with the 5 deaths that we have experienced over the last 6 months. And my question would be to each and every single one of us, if there is something that we must give up that would maybe be of a greater detriment, whether or not it's a question of the government's job being to protect my health or your health even. If it's the government's job to protect my constitutional rights, which it is, that means liberty and freedom, then perhaps it might be my personal responsibility to protect my health as well as to love my neighbor in helping to protect their health. But if we truly trade our liberty for what we perceive, just perceive as safety, which could be kind of a false sense of security, seeing as there are so many factors they really don't know about the disease yet, then perhaps we would end up losing both our liberty and our safety in the process. So if I take that very same thing and transfer it, then I could easily say we should really all be all by the city to mandate that each and every single one of us carry a gun. because that would not only be protecting my safety, but if my neighbor is getting robbed or accosted, then I would be able to take out my gun and help them in that instance, or at least scare off the perpetrator. Or I could say, perhaps maybe we should become a dry county, because when people drink alcohol and misuse it, it is it is well known statistically that people die because people get drunk and kill them, whether they kill them in their own homes or they hit them in a vehicle. Or I could also apply that to CBD, which even though it helps medically and it was already being prescribed medically, now everybody has access to it. And that also impairs people's judgment, causes harm and death. So then you could transfer it once again to say, do we outlaw abortion? Because
Mrs.
that
Bunch?
kills a baby. So my question is,
You have run over your 2 minutes. I'm sorry to tell you that, but if you have just a little bit you want to finish on, about 5 or 10 seconds, please proceed.
thank you so much. Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. I just realized that I think as we all seek the truth, and as we love our neighbors, we will do that with consideration. I have all the confidence in the world that others will be very cognizant, and it will not have to be a mandate that is inflicted upon us by the strong arm of government. But that is a personal responsibility, just like it is for me to not perpetrate a crime on somebody. So thank you so much for your time, and just know that we are praying for each of you.
Thank you for calling in.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I believe that's going to be the last one.
Okay, so we're not going to be able to get Mr. Collison in then, assuming he's having some problems. Okay.
He actually sent us a message in the chat. It said he had no more to add to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. With that, we will close the public hearing on the topic and move on to appearances or petitions from the audience, other than the COVID-19 issue. If there is anyone that would like to speak on something on the agenda or not other than COVID-19, please let our moderator know.
Right, Mr. Mayor, I'm not seeing anything. If any users would like to add anything, just use the raised hand emoji.
All right, thank you. I would like to go ahead and take another roll call just to make sure we have everyone here with us before we move on. So Jay, would you please do a roll call?
Yes, sir. Tim Poplin. Sorry, Tim Poplin. Are you there, Tim?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm here.
Okay. Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Here.
Sampson.
Here.
John Kramer.
Here.
Bill Wantland.
Here.
We're all here.
Thank you. Appointments and elections. Consideration and possible action to approve Rick Geist to the Urban Renewal Authority through July 31st, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those, do we need a roll call on this one since it's the Urban Renewal Authority? Yes, okay, we do. Roll call, please, Jake.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Consideration and possible action to approve Stephanie Lambert to the Lake Board through July 31st, 2021.
Move to
Approve. Yeah.
second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approvals and acceptances, resolutions. Number one, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2020-09, a resolution authorizing the transfer of budget funds totaling $84,092.89 between departments in the general fund for fiscal year 2019-2020. Steve, would you please elaborate on this, just so everyone watching will be able to understand what's going on?
Okay, so what we're requesting is a cleanup of our closing out our fiscal year. And this helps us eliminate some of the excess balances and transfers them into some of them that may have slightly exceeded some of their fund balances or their budgets. All of our fund balances are in good shape.
Thank you.
Move its approval.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinances. Consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1247, an ordinance requiring face masks and social distancing within the city limits, within the city of Seminole. Excuse me.
So we're up for discussion here.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to start by saying, I just want to borrow a saying that a friend of mine enjoys, and that is part of our job here is to try to keep this train running, this train called the city of Seminole. I don't think that we can survive a total shutdown if the COVID cases in our city get out of hand and require that at some point. And I think the only means that we have to contain the spread, or at least slow it down until we can get a vaccine or something going, is a mask and social distance practice in the city. And I think that there's a large number of people who, given their own choices, would not practice that, and therefore contaminate the rest of us and continue the spread of COVID-19. So I'm very much in favor of the social distance mask mandate ordinance. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Please.
Should we not have a motion to approve before we debate?
Yes.
Oh, thank
No,
you.
no, we should not. We should, because for one, well, I think we all should have say what we need to say and also suggest any changes before we make a motion.
Well, the motion, you have to have it on the floor before you can amend it or discuss it.
No, we don't. We can discuss it without motioning. We do that all the time.
No, we don't.
How can we recommend any changes if we motion to pass it as is without the changes before we do anything? We do that all the time.
But
you're in violation of the rules of order.
You can make a motion with suggestions of changes and then have discussion.
Well, this is an obstacle I didn't anticipate.
Well, Mayor, with all due respect, that's if you allow us to discuss it after the motion. Normally, we do all the discussion before a motion is made, and we have done this for as long as I've been on council. But if you were to call a roll call vote prior to
No, you
Us
don't call a
having
roll call
discussion.
vote. I'm sorry, Chris. You have to have the thing on the floor before you can discuss it. It's not on.
Let's get a ruling from our attorney.
You're both right. And I would have to go back and look. 20-something years or whatever, however long I've been on the council, I've never had to look at the Robert's Rules of Order. But you do have to make a motion to get it on the for discussion. Now, Chris is also right. We have, as a general practice, have usually discussed everything before a motion's made. But if I would recommend that if a point of order is made, we need to go ahead and follow the rules, because that's what we're bound to do. So you can get to the same end result. Somebody can make a motion, debate it, and then you can come in and move to modify the motion. That's the proper way to do it.
Well, I'd like to move that we place this proposal for consideration of the ordinance for masks and social distancing on the floor for discussion and then vote. Will that satisfy it?
Our attorney said yes.
Sorry, yes, I think that would do it. And probably need to get a second at some point here. So yes.
Yeah, I'll second it. Tim seconds.
Well, it's nice to have been on council for 16 years and just now being corrected by some of the same members who've been on here longer than I've been. But I guess I can let that go. First thing I would like to say is many people may think that I'm against masks. I am not. I will always wear one when I'm asked to, when I feel it's necessary. My son and I both have diabetes, my son being type 1 and I type 2. And as you all know, if you've done any research or shelves, you know those are on the list as being some of the people at risk. So I take it very seriously. But with that, I have never once considered forcing somebody else to make sure I don't get COVID. I do it myself. I don't expect somebody else to place a mask on to protect me. I'm going to protect myself. But with that, I took the hard stance last month, and I'm a little frustrated with some of the conversation that's gone on here this evening, I admit. I decided to listen to everybody. I wanted to say I'm going to go with what the majority says. And as we all know, we know what the majority has said. But with that, I also know it's serious, and a lot of people take this masking very seriously. I don't argue with the science behind it. I have no doubt that a mask will protect people. And what I have said before is I don't believe that we have a right to force somebody to wear a mask no more than the other side says they don't have a right to get us sick. What I have a right to do is social distance and stay away from people I feel are going to make me sick. So with that, I could entertain some changes to this policy, and I have a list of some things that I would like to have addressed before we vote on it. Again, I think there could be a way even that we could, do something for both sides of this issue, and I'll get to that later. The first thing are a couple of issues that need to be cleaned up, and one of them is the State Department of Education requiring all students to wear masks. That is not true. So if we want to be worried about facts, let's get that corrected. That did not happen. The second point of order or cleanup that I think needs to be made is in the ordinance, we urge people or tell people that as part of the masks that are defined are the N95s, KN95s, and other masks that would be appropriate for a healthcare setting or a surgical mask. The CDC website, which I assume I was on the correct one because I saw a lot of verbiage similar to this ordinance, specifically asked people not to use those type of masks to keep those reserved for the healthcare workers. Mm-hmm. So I think that might ought to be stated in there somewhere.
That's right, yeah.
My next issue is how do we define in section 13-5-8, how do we define what is consistently maintained? We know it's 6 feet, but how do you define consistently? If I am in public somewhere, if someone happens to cross in front of me inadvertently or on purpose, and it's not my fault, I don't want to be fined for not wearing a mask because they didn't do their part. My next issue is with the sign. There's a signage conflict on 13-5-9. The signage requires public entities or public places. I can't remember the exact word right now. I tried to thumb through this and talk at the same time. It's not working very well. However, the signs say that in public places shall put up signs that say that masks are required. Well, in another place in the ordinance, we say that masks should be worn when social distancing of the 6 feet cannot be performed. That's not, I mean, our ordinance says that. So we can't put a sign at the door saying you have to wear a mask when there's plenty of space. You don't really have to wear a mask. My next issue is, you know, I kind of have a beef with this. You're telling people that when you can't social distance in offices or wherever else, you know, inside that may not generally be open to the complete public, you're still supposed to wear a mask. But you can sit down at a table with someone, not social distancing, with whomever you want to, your household or anyone else, but you can take off your mask to eat. Now, I know you can't eat without taking off the mask, but this seems a little stupid and contradictory to me. So I'm saying you need to remove the office thing. If you're in an office and you feel comfortable with someone, that you know, trying to regulate everybody indoors everywhere is ridiculous. My next one is in 13.5-11C. We speak about the number of occupants and how businesses could violate having the number of occupants, but there's no clear rules in this ordinance stating how many occupants can be allowed per square footage, per seating, or anything like that. Who's going to determine that and make that call? The next one, let me say, I'll tell you when I'm finished, and then you guys can complain or say whatever you want to against me. My next one is we're going to call people criminals who don't wear a mask. Come on. You know, and I'm assuming it's a misdemeanor when you're calling them a criminals and not a felony, because if it's a felony to wear a mask, no way I would vote for this, but I don't even think we can do that as a city. It would be a misdemeanor. But then the $100 to $500 fine. Are you guys kidding me? That's ridiculous. The next one again falls under capacity under 13-5-11. Again, you're going to fine a business $100 to $500 for violating this mandate when there's nobody who's even provided any type of information as to how many people can be in their business. Who's going to go around and make this determination? I want to know before we start handing out tickets. The last one, well, one of the last ones is the date, December 13th. I'm thinking if you want to go to maybe the end of October, a 60-day thing for this, I can be fine with that. And finally, one of the best recommendations I have, and I know it's not ideal, but going against the majority of the people in this town who have submitted their vote is not ideal either. Please keep that in mind. But someone has recommended to me that we do this ordinance, we enforce the ordinance on maybe odd days, and we don't have the ordinance enforced on even days. Therefore, everybody still has a choice. If you want everybody to be wearing a mask in public, you go out on the days that they're allowed, that they're required. If you don't want to wear a mask in public, you know, you can go on your days. With that in mind, the businesses who want to enforce this can still enforce it, and I have no problem. Again, I'm going to wear a mask when I feel it's necessary for me, and I'm going to wear a mask when I'm asked to wear a mask. But without some of these items being addressed, there's just no way I can vote for this. And I know I'm animated. I come from a large family. I'm used to talking this way when I'm trying to make my point. So I apologize if I come across a little more brazen or upset or gruff. You know, when you have, you know, 60 or 70 first cousins that you've got together with most of your life, and, you know, 17 aunts and uncles and their husbands and spouses, you tend to be loud. So I apologize if I come across that way.
You're good. You're good.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I had my mic muted. I just wanted to say, Chris, you're my friends. You can express yourself how you choose.
Agreed. He took a lot of my points away too, but I'll just say this is that a lot of the businesses that called don't want to be the ones to enforce this. That's not their mode of business for the day. We're asking the business to do a lot of things that's not a part of their normal routine. This was just complaints that I got. You got businesses who may not be able to keep that person at the door that's counting people coming in. That person at the door to hand out a mask. You know, what if they run out of mask and someone, let's say someone tattles on them? This is just a situation. I'm just using an example. But those are the kind of things you got to worry about too. My initial, as part of the committee, was to, and I approached a lot of people about this. My initial approach was just to come up with an ordinance that just simply forced the businesses to come up with a sign for the door that states whether they require it or whether they don't. That way, there's really no penalties besides the fact that you're posting a sign, but it gives you as a customer, you as a citizen, that gives you the choice to go in that place or not. If they don't require a mask and that really bothers you, don't go in. If they require a mask and you don't agree with that, you don't like it, go to the next store. That was my whole intention with making a mask ordinance that I would have been fully in favor of. But I mean, this is a committee deal, so this is where the changes ended up. But that was I thought that was extremely fair. And in terms of trying to manage something, that was something that to me would have been on a much smaller scale in trying to manage just the sign on the door of a business. And no one has a problem with putting a sign on the door of your business that says whether you do or don't wear a mask. And if you wear a mask and the store doesn't agree with that, that's your choice if you want to go in. That's part of it. That was the extent that I was okay with going to, but I think this carries too much of a burden on a lot of businesses. And I too am just like Chris. If you want me to wear a mask and I want to go in your business, I 100% will not be disrespectful and not wear a mask in your business. We went to the city last weekend. We wore a mask everywhere we went because they required them. If I go in Walmart in Seminole, I wear a mask because it's required. And if we feel like we're going to be in a place just like Chris, if there's a lot of people, I'll wear one. I'm not a hater of masks. I just think that us asking businesses to enforce this, a lot of them are going to say no. And we're going to end up with an ordinance that's put in place that has no teeth and no one's going to abide by it. So why do it? You know, I think ordinances and laws are meant to be put in place so that the city can properly manage them and properly enforce them. But we're asking citizens to do, to me, it's almost like asking our citizens to do our work for us. Is the way that this seems to a lot of people, is the way that it reads. So I think that's a lot of where people have a problem with it. And I tend to agree with them. We have a small business. It wouldn't be, it's not mine, I work there, but it wouldn't be hard for us to manage people coming in and out because it's very sporadic and we don't ever have just this huge mass of people in our lobby. Now, if we did, we as a business would probably take responsibility and we would do things differently. So I think that to me and to a lot of people who have called me said this should be a common sense issue. You shouldn't have to be told what to do. But I get that there are some people out there who are still irresponsible. So I vowed to keep my mouth shut tonight and not say a whole lot. So that's all I'm going to say. And by the way, Steve Saxon and everyone at that other meeting, you lost the bet because I did last at least 30 minutes. So I'm done.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
In view of this discussion and some of the issues raised, I would suggest that this matter be sent back for further review of the proposed ordinance.
All right, so I have a question for our attorney. We have a motion and a second. Do we vote on it? And then do we table it? How do we need to walk through this? Which again, we would still need a motion and a second to be able to do that, I believe. So, Brad?
Can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Unmute.
You guys are going to make me go back and do remedial Robert's Rules of Order now. Oh.
That's why you're paid the big bucks, Brad.
Yeah, there's not a motion to amend there's a motion and a second. I think we need to have a second on Bill's motion and a vote. And then if that doesn't apply, then we're going to have to call the vote on the original motion.
So,
But how can you override a motion and a second?
That's what I'm saying. If there's not a second to Bill's motion, it's going to die. And
No, but there was already a motion and a second on this that we have on the table right now.
Right.
Can the motion be withdrawn?
I'm sorry?
Can't the motion be withdrawn?
Yes.
The motion?
Yes,
Yes, it can be withdrawn.
yes, that's the way to do it.
So
That puts it on. Can the second be withdrawn, or does it have to be the motion?
Yes,
The second,
the second can be withdrawn.
or Bill's
I believe that
motion.
was, yeah, I believe that was Bill. So if he wants to make a different motion, he could withdraw it and make his new motion.
Okay.
So Bill withdraws his motion, and you can call the vote on the original motion second.
Okay, we're calling the vote on the original motion.
Correct.
Okay, roll call, please, Jay.
hold on. What are we? I'm a little confused. What are we voting on? Will y'all just clarify that? What motion are we voting
It
on?
was Tim Poplin who made the second.
Okay,
This is
the motion that was made was to discuss the ordinance at hand and then to vote on that ordinance.
right.
So we're voting on whether to pass the ordinance as is right now.
That's what it is. Correct, as presented.
So
Yeah.
But if
the way I have it, Jay verified, is that Larry made the motion and
Right.
Okay.
Tim needs to withdraw his second, and Larry needs to withdraw his motion in order for us to proceed without a vote.
Yes, that's what they want to do.
I will not withdraw mine. Let's take a vote. I mean, we're not getting in opinions now, but I will not withdraw mine. Let's take a vote.
I'll motion to table it.
Table the ordinance? Is that what you're saying, Bill?
Yes, I moved to
Okay.
table.
Okay.
Well, we already have a motion and a second on voting on this ordinance. Unless they
That's true,
withdraw, I believe we have to
That's right.
vote on it.
You're going to have to vote on it as is.
Okay. So we're voting on the ordinance as is written, whether to approve it or not.
That's correct,
Yes.
without any of
Okay.
the additions or modifications.
Thank you for the
Without-
clarification.
Yep.
Mayor, may I have a question real quick?
Yes.
If it does or doesn't pass, can it go back and make another ordinance from what they set right now, the one we're voting on? We either turn down or accept the ordinance now, correct?
I believe that would have to be a motion made to review, but I don't know that we can make that motion now. Once we
Right.
vote on this, it would have to be at the next meeting. Is
So
that correct?
if we vote no to approve as is, we can make a motion afterwards to either go back to committee and rediscuss at the next meeting or at the next special meeting, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
But we would have to make
That's
the
what I'm-
motion to do that.
And I'm asking Brad if we can do that.
Oh,
Mayor, you can direct this committee to reconvene and bring it again. I mean, and the council can put it, I mean, it can be on the agenda, you can vote on it again. It would seem the best course of action to withdraw the second, withdraw the motion, make a motion to table it and direct it back to the committee. That would just be the easiest way so that the committee could review it. That's what I would recommend.
I will do that. I'll withdraw my second.
And Bill, if you would withdraw your motion and just just make a motion to table as you did, somebody could second it and it can be sent back to the committee.
Well, Larry made the first motion.
Or whoever it was.
It was Larry's motion.
Or Larry, excuse me.
Can't hear you, Larry.
Can't hear you.
Come on, Larry.
So, yeah, we can't hear you right now, Larry.
Can this be a yes? Can this be a no?
So much for new computers. Larry, you've got a chat right there. If you want to, if you can't hear, you do have a chat option there to make your motion. Now his mic's on, maybe he can unmute it. No.
Can't hear him.
Can't see it.
Who's on second? What's on first?
So if there's no second, what happens?
Well, he's working on, well, it would die.
Mayor,
no second.
Can I ask
Yes.
if our admin can help him see where we're muted or unmuted?
Yes.
No, I'm trying to call him right now.
He may have the mic on his computer muted, not the one on Zoom. That may be the problem. Down in the lower right-hand corner.
Maybe we just need to vote now. Dang.
Yes.
I don't know. Can you put me on your
There
screen?
we
can hear you now.
There we
You hear
go.
me? Okay.
Yeah.
I think we should vote on the motion. I don't think that we need to put this off any longer. It's been a long time coming. We went from like 40 or 50, no, we were about 80 some cases when we met a month ago, and we were alarmed at that. And we had 3 deaths. Now we have 5 deaths, and we've got 200 and some. Plus, we've learned that a lot of the cases aren't being counted. The ones that go through our hospital emergency room, we have, I'm told, 1 to 4 each shift positive cases at our emergency room every day that aren't counted in the total by the Oklahoma State Department of Health. So you can figure that up. We've up to 28 days. Take it either times 3 or times 12. And you see how many were undercounted. The longer we wait, the more problems we have. We're not going to make everyone happy. Our survey was not a random sample survey. It was a questionnaire for the people who call in are the ones that have strong feelings about it one way or another. It's not representative of the community. We're elected or appointed to look out for the welfare of our community, both economically and health-wise. I think the best thing that we can do is to mandate mask and social distancing, because there's so many people that will not comply on their own. I don't think we're going to be arresting a lot of people, putting them in jail, things like that. What we want to do is encourage cooperation. We want to get people to know that they have to do this to help each other. We wear masks to protect other people, not ourselves. We have stop signs to protect other people and ourselves. There's a lot of things that municipalities mandate and expect and demand of their citizens for the general welfare. I think we need to get this settled. People are calling me and saying, you know, why are you waiting so long? You guys are having your meetings on Zoom and instead of downtown at the library. And to some people that seems hypocritical. It doesn't to me because I'm a mask guy. I've worked in the healthcare business for 45 years. I have 100 and some clients that I see. We've kept them isolated. None of them have COVID. Of the people that I know personally and work with personally, several have came down with COVID. 2 are in critical care at the moment. It's because, well, and then I think recently there's been a well-known example of where 2 people wearing masks met with someone that wasn't wearing a mask, but contaminated them, and they're positive for COVID now. This is the only way that we can slow it down so we don't overtax our healthcare system so that we can keep people alive, and we can keep people alive that have other kinds of needs to go to the hospital that won't be denied access because of the beds being filled with COVID clients. Then we can do this until we get a vaccine where it can march backwards and it can herd immunity and it'll all be over. But until we do something, it's just going to keep spreading. We've got a holiday coming up that's going to cause it to boom again. Just like the last
no question.
So if I could summarize real quick, you have a motion.
You need a second.
And the second has been recalled by Copeland. So you have a motion with second. Right. So you're set to a vote. If there is no, it dies for lack of a second.
I have one thing to comment. If the intention is to encourage and to get people to wear masks through this mask ordinance, then why such strong language? Why such hefty fines? Why not just simply say, in places where social distancing is not able to happen, you're required to wear a mask?
That's what this ordinance. That's what this ordinance. Why not just
leave it at that? No, it doesn't just say that. It starts with that, but then it goes on to all these other threats and stipulations and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to jump in at some point and make it clear, because I think I don't think a lot of people have read this ordinance. This is a very watered down version of what's been passed in all of these other communities. The basis, and I didn't even like the way it was even reported in the paper or even on the agenda, because everybody thinks it's mandatory mask wearing. It's not. It's mandatory social distancing. And then if you're in a position where you cannot social distance and maintain that social distance, then you wear a mask. And unlike Oklahoma City, where you have to wear a mask, or Tulsa, or these other communities, that you have to wear a mask inside these places. And when you look at the fines, and I'm not being defensive about it, it was kind of, I was just kind of taken aback that some of the debate was going on, and when some of the questions were going on. I'm glad that I guess Mr. Martin brought it out about the church, because that was a big topic about exempting churches from this. Let the deacons or the elders or whoever in the churches govern that. But the fines, if you look, it is to support the businesses so that they can monitor their own premises. There's no way, I agree, Chris, there's no way that the city of Seminole we don't have enough officers, and we've got honestly better things to do than go around and slap tickets on people. But if you look at we could enforce it anyway. How would we know if somebody was consistently maintaining social distancing in a salon or some other office? It's impossible. So I'm sorry, but go ahead, Corey.
No, I don't think anybody's arguing the fact that this is what we're trying to do is make the community safer. I think the argument for me is that for a business that does not agree with this, they still have to do it.
Right.
That's the argument. And if you take the business aspect out of it, I think the whole enforcement side of this, besides for the other little corrections that some people pull out of there, the grammatical errors and the thing about the schools changing that, I get that can all change. I think the whole problem, because I'm not against masks, but I think the whole problem is that every business, and I think that's really evident from the way the votes went in Ward 1, where probably 75% of our businesses are, that's where you see that the problem is that the businesses don't want to enforce it this way. I had somebody from a bank call me today and said they had a disruption in their lobby because the guy wouldn't put on a mask, turned around and took their pictures and posted them on Facebook and stated some crap about their business. This is the kind of thing that people don't want. So, I mean, if you're going to ask for a vote on this as is, I can't do that because I'm not okay with that either. I'm not okay with the business aspect of it. I think the enforcement side's got to be reworked. That's the thing. And
one of the things that Chris brought up, and I guess you have too, is the fact that it's the penalty for these individuals that don't comply is really the businesses. It's back in the businesses. They're going to be asked to leave. I guess they can be asked to wear a mask. If they don't do it, then they're trespassing. I guess they can eject them from the business or trespass. That's what all of the most of these ordinances across the state have the same identical provisions. And if you look at that, there's really not even a penalty for that. Look at it in the ordinance for an individual, there's not a penalty. The penalty is on the signage. And Chris is right. There's the capacity thing that probably shouldn't even be in there because it's not defined. And that's a good catch by him. But it's just a warning to the business the first go around. And after that, it's a progressive fine, if that. But how can you enforce it? If you don't know, how can you enforce this? It's more, is this more symbolic? Is this a symbolic ordinance to try to protect the public with basically that's what it is.
I know, and I think that's what most people have a problem with. Why do we have to make a law for something that should be common sense or something that people should be doing anyway? I mean, I'm not calling myself smarter than anybody else, but I'll wear a mask where I need to. That's 100% okay with that. But if we're just doing this to make a statement, that's the wrong thing to do.
Okay,
we just need to do a strong resolution.
Yeah, or I don't think, I'm fine with the resolution, by the way, but I don't think everybody on here is going to agree to that. But if we're trying to get to the simple element here, which is when you can't social distance, we want you to wear a mask. Why do we have to make it so complex? Let's say that. Let's say what we're excluding. We're not going to do this in churches. We're not going to do this in the schools. The schools can make their own rules. And if you don't comply, when social distancing can't be maintained, you get a $10, $20, $30, $50 fine. But we're not going to fine somebody $500 or force businesses to call the police on their customers to accomplish this.
I view this as the businesses view this kind of like if you tell your kid that 16 years old and they can't go out that night and they sneak out their bedroom door, they're going to do it anyway. So the people that don't like this ordinance aren't going to enforce it because they don't like it. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, again, and I'm just like Chris, I don't want to be seen as someone who doesn't like masks. That is not it at all. My beef is just with the enforcement side.
I would like to mention that I believe we've lost Larry Church. Oh, he's back now.
He's back.
I got kicked out. I don't know which one of you guys did that, but
I don't have control over that, Larry, but I wouldn't do that to you anyway.
It was not I.
Okay.
Mayor, where are we at right now on this deal?
We have a motion, and that's all we have right now. We do not have a second.
The motion is to vote on the ordinance as it was written that we all received. Is that the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So do we have
If
a
there's
second?
a technicality in it that needs to be amended, I mean, I'd be glad to modify my motion to accommodate that. Like I think our attorney said there was something that Chris caught that was a good catch.
Yeah, I think Chris has got a really good point on the capacity limitations in subsection B. It talks about just failing to post signage or comply with capacity limitations. There is no capacity limitations, and that's just an oversight. And I mean, that does need to be stricken.
But I could amend my motion to strike that part of it.
I don't know that that's the only thing that needs some work on it. I mean, he mentioned
We went over all of this in committee. We went over it in committee extensively, and your position has always been that we can't enforce it, we can't enforce it, we can't enforce it. That's, you know, you're just beating the horse to death here.
Yeah.
It's we went through this in committee and it passed committee. There was things in it I didn't like that it passed committee with, but that's the nature of making sausage.
Right. And that's it's also the nature that it's also a part of opening this up. And once it was released, that people started calling and people started giving you other things that they pointed out that could be wrong with it. So, I mean, it's not just it's since the committee, people have saw this and said, no, I can't do that. I won't do that. Or I don't like this or I don't like that.
That's people calling me, tell me I ain't gonna wear a mask no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a personal choice that people make on the basis of their personal truths.
Yeah. And I'll tell you,
as committee members, we passed what we thought was the best compromise that was available. And I think that there was people who voiced what people are in the committee voiced what was voiced and reflective of the community.
Right. And something I'll give you this
to do any better.
I'll give you this. One thing that really hit me was in Oklahoma City going out to eat. I went to a restaurant, turned around, and there's a bar in this restaurant that seats probably 200 people. I won't mention the restaurant because people may want to go there and anyway, turn around and there are 200 people eating in this bar and none of them have masks on because the excuse was they were eating. Well, my thing is, you're not going to go out and eat with only your family because there's a virus going around. You're going to eat with other people you don't know who they are. If you're in a bar setting and you eat, you drink, and you become unaware of what you're doing, you're still spreading the virus. So, I mean, my whole point is you can't stop this totally. I get that.
We're trying to stop it totally. We're trying to slow it down so we don't overburden our healthcare system and until we can get a vaccine in place. We're not, and it's I mentioned the two variations, the two ends of the spectrum on pandemics. One's fast acting, kills you in a few days. You don't have time to spread it. You know, you got the symptoms like the next day. This one is a slow, low kill, And the only way to head it off or to deal with it is to try to slow it down so you can manage it. If we don't manage it and someone higher level than us steps in and shuts us down, then economically we're ruined as a city. We've got to keep the train rolling as best we can. And to sit and squabble all night about whether we can enforce something or not is it's a moot issue. We need something in place. We can always come back and modify it at a later date.
All right,
Here.
any other discussion? We have a motion on the table. And with no second, it will die. Going once. Going twice. 3 times. All right. We will move on. Item 3, consideration and possible action to approve the emergency order associated with ordinance number 1247 above. Obviously, there was no vote, so that is mute as well. We will move on to current business. Item 4, consideration and possible action to approve the contract for a community development block grant, a 50-50 matching grant in the amount of $324,999 for sewer line repairs in the area of Van Drive and Ideal Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Popland,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Reports, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to quickly report the roundabout progress. It looks like drivers are learning how to use that very well. Very happy with the result. Obviously, with still seeing some 8-wheelers coming down the road that they're not supposed to. The police department does an excellent job of policing that and getting that traffic rerouted. So bravo there. I want to encourage everyone, if you've not already taken the opportunity, to fill out your fiber optic survey on that. That's going to help us determine the depth and the width of our need for bandwidth in Seminole. I just want to jump back real quick and the face covering committee. They did an excellent job. I'm sure they missed some things in it, but overall they spent a good amount of time of their volunteer time trying to get it right. And I just want to thank them, as well as all of the citizens who participated in both the public meetings. I know that public times raises a concern for people to actually let voices be heard. So thank you for doing that. Just a quick report that our continues to hold firm, up a bit. And then I also want to thank Bryant Baker and his staff. They've done fantastic work the last couple of weeks, and they just deserve a big pat on the back. If you have a chance and you see them, please tell them thank you for the job that they're doing. They're trying to take care of their other jobs. We kind of breezed through a chance to pat Sharon Emmett on her back. She is a fantastic asset, as you know. Our team is wonderful. Sharon kind of did yeoman's work with the CDBG grant, and now we're getting $324,000 granted to us to fix a pretty good problem. Lastly, the lake, if you've been out to Sportsman's Lake, it's fantastic. Rob Robinson is doing a fantastic job out there. I'm really proud of him, and what a great hire. So we look forward to of what he can. That's all I have, Mayor.
Can't hear you, Jeff.
You're muted. Come on, Mayor.
Yeah, no kidding. I was sitting here listening to everybody. Man, all right. I didn't want to make any noise. City Attorney, do you have any comments?
Well, I do owe you guys an answer on our Robert's Rules real quick that I was able to access right here. So anyway, when a motion's made and seconded, obviously the chair calls it for discussion. The mover can modify that any way he pleases. All members can make any suggestions to the motion for modification before the chair calls it for a vote. And once all the discussion is ended, and usually it's customary for the mover to have the last say. And so with that, I hope I can get that out for future reference. And Bill, I haven't had any formal training in Robert's Rules since Boys State as a senior in high school. So anyway, now I've got to go back and review all that. But I don't know how many years it was, but that was quite an education. I don't think I've seen that spirit of a debate in a while. But I would just like to tell everybody that we continue to move forward. The city court is up and running again, and the citations have been up lately, primarily with our dilapidated structures and the tall weeds. So we're seeing a lot of those, and I've kind of Steve's inquired several times to make sure that we're consistent in what we do. And if you ever want to get an opportunity to look and see how it works, please come to City Court and to watch if you just want to be educated on what we do up there. But other than that, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. With that, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right, we will be entering executive session. So we will be stopping the live feed while we enter, and then we will come back out, go to live feed after we exit the executive session. I want to thank everyone that has had comments.
Hold on a minute.
That attended the meeting. We thank you very much, and we'll see you later, hopefully.
Hey, Steve, are you still on here? What happened to Steve?
I think he left already.